what it's going to come down to in the first two showdowns politically is who's got the ground game. I mean, these poll numbers are so close, they're within the margin of error. Bernie Sanders has a little bit of a favor in New Hampshire over Clinton. Clinton has a little bit of a favor over Sanders in Iowa, but all very close. So it's going to come down who gets their people out. How motivated are these folks going to be to go into a caucus situation or to come out in cold weather in New Hampshire and have a turnout for their candidate? They're both raising monies like crazy. If Bernie Sanders did not get the nomination, he'd be the richest loser in modern day politics. It is amazing what he's put together. And look at it this way. Let's just say that it goes to Clinton. Where does this leave Bernie Sanders in the Senate? He has upped his stock. There used to be a time when Bernie Sanders would co-sponsor a bill or author a bill and everybody would run for the hills because he was labeled a socialist. In return, he is now a hit. He's going to be used in fundraising by other colleagues because they realize that, you know what, his message is working. Hillary Clinton, no doubt a political icon, and she has a heck of a machine. But the fact is that who's going to come out and do what in Iowa and New Hampshire to set the tone of this race? For more on this, John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation. John, good to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great to be with you.
Turnout. Both operations are pretty well entrenched in Iowa and doing everything they can. So what happens?
Well, boy, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? But here's what we know. There's a lot of evidence over the last few days that the month of December and early January, it turned out to be a pretty good time for Bernie Sanders in Iowa. A lot of evidence that, he fell down in the polls. He was far behind Hillary Clinton in most of the polling in, November into early December. Now the polling seems to be suggesting that he is polling even. And here's what's important to understand about that. As you just suggested, there's no way to accurately poll the Iowa caucuses because of a couple realities. Number one, they are long. It's not just walking in and checking a box and walking out of
No, they're a process, yep.
And you cannot do it in advance. You can't send in your absentee caucus vote. And so you got to go out there on a potentially very cold winter night, and factors like weather and all sorts of other things come into play. What we do know is this. There are Iowa caucus goers who are going to show up no matter what. The kind of core. People have been doing it since the 1970s. A lot of those people know Hillary Clinton quite well. And so it's fair to suggest that she begins with some significant advantages rooted in long experience, personal connection. And I've seen Hillary Clinton on the ground in Iowa. She is working it. I've seen her after events for an hour, shaking hands, posing for pictures, giving it a lot of that personal connection.
Yeah, she's not phoning it in. There's no question about that.
So she's got that.
She's campaigning hard.
That's right. She's got that on her side. Now, for Bernie Sanders, I've seen him working it in Iowa too. What's remarkable with him is how very young his crowds are. Way younger than anything you see really generally in politics.
Why is it? Is it because he's convinced them that he's sincere about debt-free college, health care, the economy? What is it?
I think it goes way beyond that. I think it has to do with I don't want to overplay the word, but a cynicism about most of politics. Mm-hmm. I think younger folks have been promised a lot and been disappointed frequently.
So he's tapping into the same thing that Trump is tapping in, but at a different method, a different message, but basically the same thing, that the politics of America isn't working for you.
But let's do that demographic divide, Ed. Let's say if you're over 50, your cynicism, your frustration may well take you to Trump.
Yeah. If
you're under 30, it's very different. It takes you to Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders offers you a vision of something very different. I don't think that word socialism is scaring any of the young people. And so here's the question for Iowa, Ed. Can Bernie Sanders get a lot of very young people to the polls? if he or to the caucuses, and can he teach them how to do it? Can he make it work? That's not going to be easy. But if he pulls it off, he has some real potential there. I can tell you, Ed, you and I may both be in Iowa for the caucuses. If we are, if we're standing in a parking lot at a caucus, watching people go in, one of the big ones in Des Moines or Dubuque or someplace like that, and we see a lot of people under 40 showing up, we might be able to start making predictions right then.
That's the key. Who shows up? Who shows up? How they show up. Both ground games are pretty similar as far as staff, as far as paid help, and this is maybe the most intense it's ever been in Iowa for the Democrats.